So in this video, I'm going to talk about one hand takes care of two, which is a sort of sticky hands type drill that we did at my school. I'm not sure how common it is. But one hand takes care of two is kind of like the name implies. One of your hands takes care of two of your opponent's hands. And kind of like the way that I've laid out my other videos here so far, I'd love to have a partner for this, but I don't right now. I'm going to play both parts, person one over on this side and person two over on this side. And this one is going to go a little quicker because one person in this drill is doing some interesting stuff and the other person is just throwing punches. So let's go ahead and kind of run through what it is. So person one starts off with one hand chambered, one hand in a kind of a guarding position forward. Person two starts off both hands forward in a double wusao, or chambered. Doesn't really matter in this case since this is a prescribed drill. We know what's going to be coming. Person two, is going to throw a punch, say from the left, and go in and try to hit person one. Person one is going to use the right hand. If this is the left coming in, they're going to use their right. It's going to be the same side. Person one is going to send a pak out that is going to intercept on the outside side of that arm that threw the punch. Then person two is going to throw their next punch. Person one is going to intercept said punch with a tan. Then person two is going to throw their third punch. Person one is going to roll into a bong. Person two is going to send out their fourth punch. Person one is going to go into a man sao and then lop that punch. And that is going to be how that works. So you can kind of see a couple of things here. So one of those things is that if I'm the one punching and this hand goes first and this gets pocked on the outside, my body kind of ends up over here. And then I punch with this arm and then this gets tanned and then I end up kind of over here again. And then I throw this punch and then they do a bong and I end up kind of over here again. And then I throw this one and then they end up kind of using a man sao, kind of pushing me a little bit, and then they tug, and you see where I'm at right here. So if you noticed any kind of common thread to where I ended up there as person two, you'll notice that my structure gets compromised with each of those techniques, which is part of what you're training when you're doing this, is you're training yourself to kind of make a bridge in such a way that you know that you have compromised the other person's structure. And typically the way that that's going to work is that you're coming in from the outside and you're twisting the body, because it's very easy to kind of take somebody's arm as a lever from this direction and to kind of push them over here. It's one of the reasons why we don't like leaving long arms out there, like those long bridge punches, because it's easy to kind of use that as a handle to kind of move us. It's much harder to use the inside to do that. And so I think that that's one of the things that we're training with this drill, is we're training to kind of go to the outside a little bit and to kind of take advantage of that, and then to really rip somebody out of their ground with that lop. We're also learning that it really just doesn't take that much energy to counter somebody who's like really coming in. Like if we have our guarding hand up and we have center covered, we really don't have to do too much. Pak, tan, bong, man, lop. Pak, tan, bong, man, lop. See, I'm not really moving much. This could be like an old man standing here, and meanwhile, somebody's just kind of trying to rain down punches. And it's just this simple matter of, bam, 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 bam. And you're not putting that much energy into doing these, but because of the structure of these hands and the way that they work, you're not going to have to put too much energy into these, and you're going to be able to deal with those coming in. Now, at the end of that, when you do the lop you're going to switch off. And so it also teaches you to kind of shift gears quickly. So, you have the one person who's throwing the punches, and then all of a sudden the other person is throwing the punches, and you have to be the one doing the thing. So you're shifting gears. You're learning to kind of train your brain into, okay, the situation has changed, which can happen very rapidly in a fight, and you're going to roll right into the next thing that you're going to do, which is throwing those punches. And if you get this done right, you're going to see this like real flow of just like bam, 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 and just, it's going to be very, very, very flowy water kind of motions that you're going to see with people, and that's where you want to get with One Hand Takes Care of Two. There's a couple of ways that you can do it. One is that you can just stand stationary and you can throw these hands out. One of the cool things about that is that you learn that you don't really need a shift in a lot of cases to counter a punch. So like if I'm standing here and I see that punch coming in, I can just throw this out. I can just throw it out to center, and I can intercept, and I can make that Pak do what it needs to do. Same thing with a Tan, same thing with a Bong, same thing with a Mon, and a Lop almost. Lop has to have a little bit of a turn to it, but not much. But you see I'm not shifting. Now if you add the shifting, this becomes a much more violent game. Because all of a sudden, the punches get harder, and the way that people are thrown off balance, and the way that people's spines are kind of racked when that Lop comes around is a little harder, because that shift really puts a lot of energy into it, but you don't need it. And so that's one of the other things that we learned from this, is kind of the difference between, shifting and not shifting, seeing that the hands work without the shift, seeing how they work differently with the shifts, and really kind of getting a sense for how these things move, and also building up, a little bit of that timing and coordination. This is like one of the few drills where we're like, eyes count a little bit, because on that first step, you're not making contact. You're kind of waiting for it to come in, and so you're kind of watching somebody's shoulders. And I would always recommend watching the shoulders incidentally rather than watching the hands. The hands, this could go anywhere and kind of fake out. The shoulder is generally going to be the thing that really indicates when a punch is coming in, because somebody could fake like that. I don't really care about this thing going in, necessarily, like a fake punch. I'm going to be able to kind of tell from the way that the shoulders are moving. But if I see something like that coming in where the body is pivoting, that's the one I'm going to worry about. So anyway, you're going to be watching the shoulders, and you're going to, send in that Pak and get it timed right. Send in the Tan, get it timed right. And this and that. And, that's how you're going to do it. You're going to switch off and keep doing that with your opponent. And, it's just a really, really cool drill. You'll learn a lot of things about your own body structure, about their body structure, about how the hands work, about how timing works, about how shifts work, and how stationary things work, and how they differ, and just kind of how things really feel when you really get into it. And you also learn a very important lesson out of this, which is, again, that you don't have to put that much energy into it, and it's in fact kind of better if you don't. If we were doing this and we were doing these wild movements, you'd find very quickly that those punches would start making their way through. Whereas if you're just in here kind of, protecting your center like you should, you're not going to get hit. And again, these are drills where you should be throwing punches that will connect. Low energy, obviously. Don't want to put your buddy in the hospital, but you should be throwing a punch that, if it is not stopped, will stop at the person's face. That's my 2 cents. So that's One Hand Takes Care of Two.